I'm a sinner. Never feel sure of his motives, including the ones I feel right now about why I'm doing this. And you're a very strange audience, because I totally did not expect laughter.
There is nothing worse than evoking an emotion from your audience that you never intended for them to feel. And if you know John Piper at all, you know it makes zero sense that these people were laughing, and it was all because the screen above him was introducing him as a comedian.
So it wasn't like a comedy event. It just in like a lower third.
Yeah, it was in a lower third. That's exactly it.
I mean, that is so little to steer that. That is so good.
Now, I have zero desire to make fun of John Piper. The dude's a legend. He's one of my heroes. But it does show the importance of setting the tone, because it doesn't matter what content you have. If you create the wrong expectation, the wrong atmosphere, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle that you can never win. And that's what puts me in the conundrum, because I fear that I'm about to have my own John Piper moment. I got invited by a really influential church in the area to go and speak at their big leadership event. Like, it's all of their leaders that serve at their church. They're trying to inspire and encourage them. And so they called me and said, Trey, we would love for you to be like the speaking part to encourage them. And here's the part I'm beating myself up about, because he said, Trey, this is why I want you to speak. We heard you, and then during that part, it was like, I couldn't hear anything, and I knew it was like a huge compliment. I froze. I didn't want to be a jerk and said,
Can you say that again?
So I'm about to go call my friend Jason Mayfield to kind of get some tips from him. I don't know what direction I want to go. I know I want to set the right tone, because being a tone setter makes everyone better.
Or worse.
And I want to serve these people. They're an incredible church. This is such a great opportunity. I'm hoping Jason will help me. The only other piece of advice that I got from them is they're looking for like a TED Talk.
I don't do TED Talks. I do Trey Talks. And Trey Talks are better than TED Talks, because when Trey walks into a room, he has something to say, and it's probably either going to rhyme or all the letters are going to start with the same thing. In Genesis, when you read the 7 days of creation, or the 6 days of creation, on the second day, God creates an expanse to separate the water from below and the water from above. He essentially creates atmosphere. It's the only day that God does not look at what he did and go, that's good. And the reason is, nobody wants to watch you make the sausage. The reality is, when we're working with atmosphere, when we're creating atmosphere, nobody wants to sit back and go, if you're asked, how do you deliver a powerful sermon? Nobody wants to say, well, the first thing I do is, I walk in and I turn the lights on and I set the chairs up where they're facing the stage, and I get the sound system where it's tweaked, and I make sure that everybody can hear me, and we work on these PowerPoint slides and X, Y, Z. Nobody wants to talk about that. What people want to hear when they ask that question is, I get alone with God and I get a word, and then when I come out and I preach this thing, it burns inside of me and it burns inside of other people, and lives are changed. That's what people want to hear, but the reality is, I turn the lights on, I set the chairs up, I got the sound system tweaked, and all this stuff worked. And the fact of the matter is, I was 5 seconds of feedback away from this thing not working at all. So, use that in your freaking clip.
Well, what do you want me to say on camera?
So now we're here. Caleb, thankfully, came with me. You think I look like a tool coming in with 2 cameras?
Yes.
Is that might set the wrong tone right away.
That's it.
People seeing me mic'd up and shoot. So here we are. I am about to give this TED Talk. Trey Talk. And I'm going to implement 3 ways to set the tone. One I learned from my grandfather, one I learned from my father, and one I learned from my own experience. Think that's a good start?
Yeah.
What kind of music do you think is in the background right now?
What would Tarantino do?
What would Tarantino do? That's a good point. Dude, you got mints? That's another rule from my dad. Always carry mints. Think this is overkill?
Look, they knew who you were when they asked you to do this, right?
That's true. Look at that though.
Oh my gosh.
Russ. Nice to meet you, Russ. Nice to meet you, Kim. I'm Trey. I'm from the East Valley. So West Valley people truly are nice. I appreciate it. I'll spread it around a little more.
You're good. You can stay.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure, I want to start out the right way. I want to honor your pastors. You have an incredible staff, amen? Aren't they so good? Just want to give them a round of applause. But your team is incredible, and I just want you to know you got something special going on here. But your pastor is also super organized, and he said I have 20 minutes. So let's get this thing started, amen? When you want people to change, what is your approach? Do you lead like a critic, or do you lead like a coach? There is no way that I can bring people up if I'm constantly putting people down. This is why it's so hard not to become a critic. Because here's the first type of person. There's two kinds. The first one is the self-righteous one. They know the problem. When I'm preaching, they're like, amen, brother, he needs that. You say that, I'm talking to you. The second type of person that I think we all deal with is the self-rejecting person. They lack the emotional resilience to stay encouraged. We gotta tell them they're incredible all the time. And you as a leader can be so tempted to just go critical. A critic looks at the holes in life, but a coach looks at the whole life. In your leadership, how have you only been nitpicking at the holes of the people who are beneath you? And how have you forgot? I need to look at this entire person, his entire story, the way God is orchestrating all of this, and not just look at this one area. When we nitpick, we tend to miss out on God's pick. Amen? So, I'm gonna ask you one more time. When you want people to change, what is your approach? Do you lead like a critic, or do you lead like a coach?